Right, so today I made over $3,000 trading this simple strategy, and I'm going to teach you the entire strategy in this video. Now, this trade was sent out in my private Discord server. I sent CAD risking 0.5% only, and then I told them to go break even, and then the TP was smashed. But anyways, this strategy is very easy and it is extremely powerful. And this could be like your bread and butter trading strategy. Now, I know I have uploaded a lot of strategies, and the reason why I do it is because whatever I learn, I want to put it out on YouTube. All right, and that helps me. When I teach something, it solidifies my learning. All right, I don't know how, but it does. So here is the strategy. All right, so on the daily time frame, right, once the daily candle closes, so you can see that this is the daily candle, you mark out the daily candle high and the daily candle low. Now, once you have marked out the high and the low of the daily candle, you are waiting for price to either take out the daily high, right, or the daily low. So in this example, you can see that price took out the daily high. Now, as soon as price takes out the daily high, you are dropping down to the 1 hour time frame, and it's gonna look something like this. So let's assume this high over here was the daily high, right? So this high is the daily high, and price just took out the daily high. Now, from the dealing range on the 1 hour time frame, from this low to this high, you want to use your Fibonacci, right? And you want to look for a fair value gap below the 0.5 level, or it could be above the 0.5 level. In both cases, your draw on liquidity, right, is going to be that fair value gap. But let's assume that there is no fair value gap above the 50%, right? But there is a fair value gap below the 50%, then that is going to be your draw on liquidity. But if there is no fair value gap below the 50%, but there is one above the 50, you can target that as your draw on liquidity, right? And what if there is a fair value gap above the 50 and fair value gap below the 50%? You want to be targeting the fair value gap that is below the 50% because that is in discount, right? So you mark out the fair value gap on the 1 hour time frame. Afterwards, what you are doing is you are basically dropping down to 5-minute or 15-minute time frame. So I usually drop down to 5-minute time frame. Now, I'm looking for a market structure shift on the 5-minute time frame, right? And once I get the market structure shift, I'm going to take my entry after 2 a.m. New York time. So that is very important, 2 a.m. New York time. I'm going to take my entry from the fair value gap or the auto block. I'm going to target this fair value gap. This is the entire strategy. All right. Now, it's very simple, right? And you can see that this is going to be your draw on liquidity. Similarly, if the daily low was taken out, you would drop down to the 1 hour time frame, right? This is the daily low. Price takes out the daily low. Now, you want to use your fib from the dealing range high to the dealing range low. And you want to identify a fair value gap above the 50% level. That is going to be your draw on liquidity for this day, right? So simply you drop down to a 15-minute or 5-minute time frame, and then you look for a market structure shift, right? And then you can take your entry and target this level and make sure your entry is always after 2 a.m. New York time. For more confluence, you can use SMT divergence, and that is going to increase the probabilities even more. So I will give you guys some examples, and then you can go ahead and test it out for yourself. This setup was taken today, and it was sent out in the private Discord server. If you want to check out, just click on the link down below, and you will get the information about the Discord and my private course. Anyways, let's move on to the examples now.
Alright guys, before moving on to the examples, I want to talk about the Blue Guardian prop firm. Honestly, it is one of the best prop firms out there. So they offer up to 85% profit split and the prices are very, very low. Also, they have this rapid evaluation program. You only need to pass the challenge once, meaning you only need to hit 10% once. And once you do that, you get the entire account to yourself. So there's a link down in the description. Click on it and use the code FAZSMC to get 10% off on your next purchase.
Alright, so here is example 1, and that is the trade that I took today and was sent out in my private Discord. So over here you can see we had a daily candle, right? And you can see that we took out the daily candle high. Now if I drop down to 1 hour time frame, this is the daily high, this over here, and you can see as soon as price took out the daily high, I marked out my fib from this dealing range low to this dealing range high, and I looked at this fair value gap that was just below the 0.5 level. So that was my initial draw on liquidity. Now we are going back to the external to internal liquidity method, right? But over here, this was my draw, right? And once price was above this, I dropped down to 5-minute time frame. And you can see that we had a beautiful displacement to the downside, and we had this low that was broken. Now the body didn't close, but my overall bias was bearish, and for this specific strategy, I consider wicks for market structure shift as well. Now there was a fair value gap in the premium, and that was my entry right over here. And I went for 1 to 2, but this was around here. This was this fair value gap, the hourly fair value gap. Now price did go below here, but I was out as soon as price came into this level. So let's move on to the next example now. All right, everybody, so here is example number 2, looking at GBP USD on the daily, of course. So I'm going to mark out the daily low and daily high. Now I will drop down to 1 hour time frame now, and I will wait for price to take out the daily low or daily high. And over here you can see that we have taken out the daily low. Now I'm going to mark out my fib from this dealing range high to this dealing range low. And as you can see that this fair value gap is going to be my draw, because this fair value gap is above the 50%, and that is in the premium. So that is going to be my draw on liquidity. Now I'm going to drop down to 5-minute time frame, and I'm going to mark out the fair value gap. So there's a fair value gap just around here, and we had a market structure shift just around here as well. Now I do not want to enter before 2 a.m. So I'm going to wait till 2 a.m. New York time. And we are past 2 a.m. now. So that is going to be my entry. My stop is going to go right below this low over here. And I'm going to be targeting this fair value gap, giving me 4.58 risk to reward. And price gets close to the fair value gap, but you can see that we came back and we tested this fair value gap. So if I play this through, you're going to see that price delivered into the internal liquidity that was on the 1 hour time frame. So this is literally could be your holy grail. Please stick to this and don't change anything. I will be uploading videos, but just stick to it. Don't use other strategies. Whatever suits you best, because the reason why I'm uploading this is because I want to solidify my learning. And there's a saying that if you learn something and you teach that stuff to other people, your learning is going to solidify even more. So that's what I'm doing. I also love to help you guys. No one in this community is giving away strategies like this for absolutely free. I spend hours and hours every single day backtesting, so I can give these strategies to you for absolutely free. All right. people would charge thousands of dollars for this stuff, but I'm doing it for free. So all I deserve is a subscribe. Please hit that subscribe button right now. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next example. Alright guys, so here is the final example. I'm looking at Euro USD and that happened today. So I'm going to mark out the daily candle high and the daily candle low. Now I'm going to go to the 1 hour time frame. And you can see that this is the daily high actually. So let's just do this. And let me just remove this as well. The daily low. Now I'm waiting for price to take out the daily high. And that happens right there. Now I'm waiting for a dealing range to form. And we have the low, but we do not have the high yet. So I do not have like a clear picture at the moment. We do have this 21. Okay, so we do have a high formation and a low formation. So this is gonna be my dealing range, and you can see that we have the 50% here, but there is no fair value gap below the 50. So we're just gonna use this fair value gap as our draw on liquidity. So I'm gonna mark this out like that. This is going to be my draw on liquidity. Now I'm gonna drop down to 5-minute time frame. I'm gonna look for a market structure shift, and we're gonna trade after 2 a.m. So keep that in mind. So price just plays and plays and plays. But then you can see that we go above and take out the Asian high. And this over here, we had a market structure shift. So this low was broken. Now I'm waiting for a fair value gap formation. And you can see that the fair value gap was formed over here. Now we do have this fair value gap that we can take our entry from. And you can see that we got our entry. Since the fair value gap was pretty big, we could have used the 50% of that fair value gap. So my short would have been this. Stop would go above this here. And since it was not giving me 1.2, I would have decreased my stop loss a bit to give me like 2 risk reward ratio. And you can see that the take profit level was hit quite nicely. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you're looking for a prop firm challenge passing service, there is a link in the description. Join that Discord and you can find more information. We will pass your entire prop firm challenge, phase 1 and phase 2, for $200 only. It doesn't matter if you have like a 200K challenge or a 500K or a 1 million challenge. We're gonna do it for $200 and with 100% guarantee. And if my team fails to pass the challenge, we will refund your amount along with $300 extra. So join the Discord now, and I'll see you guys in a couple of days. Goodbye.